Drone Dude here, and today we're going to talk about this, the Blade 200QX that just came out a few weeks ago. This is by far one of my favorite quadcopters. It's pretty much superior to just about any other quadcopter I have, and it's just fun to fly. Just as fun as the Blade 180 that I also did a review on. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the styling first. So quadcopter, 4 blades. Now the first thing you'll notice about this quadcopter versus other quadcopters is these blades are quite small compared to many other lighter weight quadcopters. And this is actually a pretty heavy quadcopter. And that's because these are really powerful 3000 kV motors with tons of power and tons of feedback with your remote that you'll get with this little quad here. So it is a mini 350QX, Blade 350QX. Its main design is like that. And then the battery compartment is right here, so you got a little tab here on the back. You open that up and you stick your battery in there. There's plenty of room for the battery. There's no more room for anything else that you want to put in there, but just enough room for the battery and to stick the wire in there. And then also you've got your little binding port, or you can auto bind it, I've found, without a binding plug to the DX5 Spectrum remote. However, I had to use the binding plug for my DX6, so it really depends on which one you want to use with this quadcopter. In terms of the quality and durability, this thing is incredible. I've crashed this thing several times, and I've really beaten up the blades. I don't know how you can see that, but it survived and still flying just fine. It's designed, it has a kind of a clear white plastic top on it, or cover, and there's actually LEDs inside of that you'll see in a minute when we're getting ready to fly it, that will tell you the various modes you're in, and then also when you have battery or don't have battery. In terms of pricing with this thing, it starts at $230 or $229.99 or whatever, and that's bind and fly, so you still have to bind it to your favorite remote. Spectrum, obviously you already have the plug for the Spectrum, and you can just immediately bind it to your DX5, so that's really nice. Alright, let me go ahead and show you a few things about the DX6i that I'm going to use, and we'll go ahead and get this thing powered up. Alright guys, so I have my DX6i here, and I'm going to go ahead and power it on. Now, you notice I already have the 200QX set up with this remote, and you'll see it's actually a plane and not a quadcopter. And I actually watched a setup video, and I'll try to link that in the description. But there's a particular setup that gives you all the remote modes for your DX6i. Of course, the DX6i doesn't have a 3-position switch, so you don't necessarily have the 3 modes that that come with the 200QX. However, you can access those 3 modes through this tutorial with your various switches. So I'll go and link the description and link the video in the description. But anyway, let's go ahead and start her up. Alright, so we have our remote on, and this is the battery that comes with it. It's 7.4 800 milliamp 2-cell, and we're going to just go ahead and stick it in here. Actually, it works better if you turn it over like this when you put it into the drone. And then we'll just go ahead and plug it in. So grab this little wire out of here, it kind of gets stuck down there sometimes, and just plug it up. Alright, so we have our 200QX here. Now, one thing I found that's particular about the DX6i is the way to start it up, so versus the DX5. So starting this up is a little weird, and you usually on the DX5 you have to have your trim set to center, and you know that by hearing the long tone when you have the centered trim, throttle trim on the DX5. However, on the DX6 I've found you have to have it at least 1 click, so 1 up, 1 click above the center trim, and that will get it to take off. So you want to, this is center, and you want to have it one click up, and then to start her up, you want to take your two things right here, and you can do anything. You can go back and forth with this, but what I prefer, because I have the DJI and that's the way I like to do it, is just take both of these, click them together real quick, and then your drone is started up. Now, the weird thing is, to shut your drone down, you do not want to do the same thing. If you click these in like that, it'll flip the drone over and crash. So you'll want to actually take the trim, go to center, and then go below center, and it will turn off. Which is really weird, but something you got to get used to. And so, to start it back up, you take the trim back up to center, one more than center, and you are ready to go. So we'll go ahead and start her up. Alright guys, so we have our 200QX here on the ground. Now as you see, the backlight is green, which means it's in basic mode. But I'm going to go ahead and flip the F mode switch, which is in the setup, and now it changes to blue. And then that means it's in high throw basic mode, or high throw stable mode, so it's not going to flip over on you. But as soon as you hit into non-basic aerobatic mode, it goes red, and it's literally almost impossible to fly unless you have training maybe on the 180 in this mode. It's very sensitive and very quick to flips and maneuvers. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and flip it back into basic mode for now, and we'll go ahead and take off. This thing's power is incredible. So we're going to go ahead and lift off here, off the ground. I'm just going to kind of hover it in front of the camera here. So it is very stable, but it's also very sensitive to any input that you have on it. Now I have it in basic mode, and I'll kind of show you what this looks like. Okay, so in basic mode, this is kind of what your control deflections look like. It's very small and delayed kind of movements in this mode. Nothing too extreme. It's not going to make you go too fast. It's a nice, comfortable beginner mode. And now as soon as you switch it into the high throw mode, high throw mode, it becomes a whole different kind of game here. So this is my maximum tilt angle now. So I can really push it now. Same with backwards and forwards. As well as yaw input. Now in this high rate mode, it is insanely quick. So I'll go ahead and give an example of that. This thing just flies. Super maneuverable. Alright guys, now I'm going to take this from this mode to aerobatic mode, and I'm going to try to do a flip without wrecking it, so we'll see how this goes. So now we are in full manual mode. I have no actual stabilization, it's all me. So here's an attempt at a flip here. Alright, so I crashed it. This is a good example of one thing that a lot of people don't know about. So it's crashed and it's gonna beep, and the white there's a white light on the drone that is flashing right here. And now many people think that you have to unplug the battery and reset it. However, that is not true. All you have to do is take your remote and push these inward, and it stops with the the noise, and it goes back to the mode you were in. And then I'm just going to flip it out of there. So that was a good example of how hard it is to do flips and in the aerobatic mode. I've done them before, it's just not easy. And so now I just push the sticks in like I would before, and it just starts right up. So as you can see by the wind, this is not the best day to be doing this, but it handles the wind very well in high rates mode. Now I'm just going to kind of give you an example of the climb rate, and also before I do that I'll show you it in the wind. So as you can see, it is quite windy right now, and I'm able to just kind of keep it right where I want it. So anyway, let's see that climb rate. So 3, 2, 1. And it just shoots upward. And we'll bring it back down, recover, and 3, 2, 1. So this drone really is a beautiful drone when it comes to flying experience. It's a great learner, and it really gives you more than things like the Helimax 230 SI can offer. It's really a really good deal for the money. And if you don't want to spend this much, go for the Blade 180, because it's basically a less advanced version of this, and still just as fun to fly. Alright guys, so this is a good example of what it does when it's low on battery. So you'll see it flashing right there, and the flash actually gets faster, and then eventually it'll go to white and stop. It'll stop the blades and you won't be able to take off anymore. So that lets you know that you want to recharge your drone. The battery life with this thing is actually relatively short because I think because those motors are so powerful it drains the battery, but it lasts a good 7 to 10 minutes depending on how you fly it. So it's not bad, but there's definitely better, like the 180 I've got up there. I love that, and it's got a good 15-minute battery life, but still not bad for the power that it has, and it has quite a lifting capacity too. If you guys know what a Contour HD is, it's a camera that's about this big, and it's bigger than my smartphone, and I just taped it right on the drone and flew it around, and here's some footage from that. It's an old camera, but it's still pretty good, and that drone has quite the lifting power. You put your smartphone on it, whatever you want to put on it. So anyway. Alright guys, so for all you guys who don't feel like reading instructions and learning how to charge this thing, it comes with this wonderful charger right here. It's a 2-cell charger made pretty much for the drone, and so we're gonna go ahead and plug it in, and they actually provide a wonderful wall outlet adapter for it, so that's pros for them. Let me go ahead and plug it into the wall outlet. We have our battery here. Now it's still kind of warm, so I don't really want to charge it, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it for the video because of you guys. Yeah, so here's our charger. Actually, it also comes with this little part right here that I'm going to try to grab out of here. It comes with this little wire, and you're just going to want to take this wire and plug it right in there. And then you're going to want to take the battery, and you'll see this is flashing green. That's going to keep flashing green. You'll plug the battery in, and that's going to remain flashing green. However, when you hit the start button, you'll see that it's flashing red, and when it's flashing red, that means it's charging. And the green is still flashing, and that means it's balancing the battery. So it's a balanced charger, which is really nice. And then once it's done charging, it'll be a solid green light, and you know you're good to go. Alright guys, so when you land this thing, you just want to bring it down slowly, and it's going to stay in idle when you bring it down. But I'm going to go ahead and bring it down here. I'm going to touch back closer to the camera. And touch down. And now as you can see, the blades are still spinning. So what we do is we just take the trim down like I showed you earlier. Right here. Down. And they just cut off. And that's my review of the Blade 200 QX. Thanks for watching and subscribe.